Hello football fans, I'm Liam Thorpe.
And I'm Michael Mambo.
And this is Team Talk. That's right guys, it's Team Talk, and today, as promised, is our African Cup of Nations special. The tournament is well underway in South Africa, and today's games go back to Group A, featuring the hosts, South Africa taking on Angola, and Morocco versus Cape Verde. Now, every team has played at least once. We're going to go through group by group and basically analyse how the teams have done and how they're looking for the next round of games. So we'll start with Group A, Mike, and of course it was a very slow start to the tournament, very cagey, no goals on day one. Angola 0, Morocco 0, maybe could have expected a draw there, but very sluggish start from the hosts, drawing 0-0 with the small Cape Verde.
Well, it was a disappointing performance from the host. You'd expect them to actually go all out and try and get a win.
And of course, if they don't beat Angola today, then they're out. I mean, how will their fans react to that?
Well, it will be very disappointing, but South Africa has been playing poorly lately. So it's not like people expected them to win the tournament.
And from your experience of watching South Africa, are they the kind of team that when they're on the back foot and luck is against them, will they group together and grind out that necessary victory, or will they give up?
Well, my knowledge of South African football is rather bad, but I'm sure as the host country, you'd expect them to perform better in order to please the home fans and to keep the tournament spirit going.
And of course, Angola were the side that beat your beloved Zimbabwe to the tournament. Is there any animosity there, or do you wish them well?
No, I wish Angola well. They're there because they were the better team on the day, and as such, it actually works well for Africa if the tournament is more lively. We've got more players who perform. That way, they get a chance at big European teams.
Okay. Well, Group A, there wasn't much to write home about and not much for us to talk about, so we'll move swiftly to Group B. Finally, the tournament got going, and Mali, who quite a lot of people fancy as a bit of an outside bet to do well, they got away with a 1-0 win against the small team Niger with a late goal from former Barcelona player Seydou Keita. Not convincing from Mali, but they needed 3 points.
They needed 3 points, and they got the 3 points. That's the most important thing.
So a win is a win, right?
Yeah, a win is a win.
But the big game going on in Group 2 on day 2 was Ghana versus the Democratic Republic of Congo. Ghana, the Black Stars, many people fancy to do well in this tournament, and it was a cracking game. Here's a little look at how the fans reacted to the game. The people of Goma in the Democratic Republic of Congo are feeling confident after their team earned a draw in a thrilling opening Group B match with Ghana. The Black Stars of Ghana were cruising at 2-0 before goals from Trezor Mputu and a Didier Mbokani penalty earned the Democratic Republic of Congo a vital and much deserved point.
J'aimerais que la RDC prenne conscience que nous sommes une grande équipe, et comme nous sommes une grande équipe, nous voulons réellement capitaliser nos efforts et arriver réellement à amener la Coupe d'Afrique chez nous.
The game on Sunday saw the first goals of the African Nations Cup after a very dull first day, and the result has left fans in Goma dreaming of success.
Nico rappelle conviction que tout arrive à couper jour il est détermination léopard vraiment il se pense qu'il a muito vraiment pas tout na espoir que tout à finale la Coupe d'Afrique.
Next up for the DRC, it is the unfancied Niger, in a game that they feel they must win in order to progress from Group B. In Ghana, there was a different mood. Many Black Stars fans expected their side to cruise to victory against the Democratic Republic of Congo, but this, of course, was not the case. Some fans criticised the way the team played during the match at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium.
Oh, they have done well, but I didn't enjoy the football. This is not the type of football Ghanaians used to play. We used to play attacking football, running, then later, around 10 to 15 minutes to close the game, you can't see the players running on the game.
Others were more upbeat and suggested that there was a lot more to come from one of the pre-tournament favourites.
Looking at what they did today, I really like the impression that they brought us. So it was a crucial encounter that they brought us. So looking at what they played today, I hopefully believe that they can do something better in the next matches that they are going to play.
Well, next up for Ghana is a mouth-watering clash with Mali, which may go a long way to deciding the fate of Group B. Okay, Mike, well, we've seen two very different reactions from the supporters. The Congolese delighted with that vital draw, and the Ghanaians naturally disappointed. They would have expected to win this game.
Yeah, they would have expected to win it, but Congo played really well, and it may be a surprise package for the tournament.
Okay, and Ghana, we've talked about them before. They promise a lot. They don't always make it. How far can they go in the tournament? They need to sort their act out, don't they?
Yeah, Ghana is more like a modern day version of Arsenal.
You always manage to get Arsenal back in, even in an African special. Yeah. Arsenal sneak in there.
Yeah, they sneak in there because Ghana plays pretty attractive football. It has the stars to perform, but they never deliver.
And in Ghana's next match, they face Mali. Now, that should be a mouth-watering clash.
It should be a mouth-watering clash, and I'm tipping Mali to win this one.
Of course, if Mali do win it, then that's Ghana away. Is that what this tournament's all about? Any team can beat anyone, really?
Yeah, this team is set up that way. Ever since Zambia won the last tournament, more teams feel they can go in and actually get a win, so they're more tactically aware. As before, they'll just go in and try and outplay whichever team it is.
So do you think Zambia winning it last season and maybe not being the favourites has made everyone else believe?
Yeah, it has made everyone believe, and it's made the tournament more open.
Okay, well, speaking of Zambia, who of course dramatically won the African Cup of Nations last year, they got off to their first game against Ethiopia. We discussed this on the last show on Team Talk. Ethiopia really surprised everyone by getting to the tournament. So let's find out how they got on against the Chipolo Polo. There were crazy scenes amongst Ethiopian fans as they celebrated a famous draw against current African Cup of Nations holders Zambia in Nelspruit on Sunday. Many were surprised that the Antelopes managed to qualify for the tournament, so to take a point off the Zambians is a tremendous result that thrilled their fans.
Zambian game definitely is a best game, and being a best game and being the defending champions, of course the pressure was on us. Yeah. But I'm sure in the next game, looking at the way the boys played, we are going to do something great.
And they welcome visitors. So it's a very good. Even if I see when they host the World Cup, it was very nice. It was war-free, no problem, no issue of stealing or taking somebody's stuff like us. Okay. It was safe. I pray that this one will be more safer than the former one.
Zambian striker Collins Mbasuma opened the scoring for the Chipolo Polo on half-time, before Aden Gurma equalised for Ethiopia in the second half. An eventful game also saw the Antelopes miss a penalty and have their goalkeeper Saladin Said sent off for a wild tackle. The result leaves things all square in Group C after Nigeria and Burkina Faso also played out a 1-1 draw. Ethiopia faced Burkina Faso on Friday, with Nigeria taking on Zambia in what should be a thrilling matchup. Again, Mike, similar to the last package, two very different reactions. The Antelopes fans of Ethiopia over the moon with that result. It's a stunning result for them, isn't it?
It is a stunning result considering they've got amateurish players and they're playing the current holders.
Over the less than 100th in the world. I mean, Zambia, they've got good players. Chris Katonga voted BBC African Player of the Year. So, what does it mean for Zambia now?
They just have to keep on doing what they did in the first place when they won the tournament. Keep on playing, win those key games, and hope for the best.
Okay, and the other game was the same result. Nigeria won, Burkina Faso won. Were you surprised by that result?
Yes, I was surprised. I thought maybe Nigeria would edge it, and they almost got the result they wanted.
Yes, Emeneke scoring first for Nigeria, and Traore equalised for Burkina Faso in the 94th minute. That's a big point for them, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a big point for Burkina Faso, but I expect Nigeria to progress to the next stage.
We saw in our pre-tournament show Nigeria going through a bit of a transitional phase, so we thought maybe this won't be their tournament. It's a bit too soon, do you think?
They have the players to do it, but it may be too soon in the sense that they'll never get that time to bond as a team. But nonetheless, most of them play abroad professionally, so they'll never have that opportunity anyway.
Okay, well, the Super Eagles not so super there, but it's all to play for in Group C, and we'll of course update you on how that group progresses. But yesterday was a very dramatic day in Group D. We had the North African showdown between Tunisia and Algeria, and as we expected, it was a tight, close affair, not too much in terms of chances, but it was settled by a quite brilliant goal by Youssef Moussakni for Tunisia, right on the 90th minute. What a strike that was, eh, Mike?
Yeah, it was a wonder goal, well executed.
Goal of the tournament so far?
Well,
there's not been many.
There's not been many, but I kind of like the Arsenal player's goal.
Gervinho, yeah, we'll get on to that.
The Gervinho goal was exceptional skill, but so far this would be the goal of the tournament.
And sets down a marker because, I mean, Tunisia or Algeria, there's not much between them, so whoever was to win that one, you'd expect them to get through, really, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you'd expect them to get through because, more importantly, they've got 3 points in their bag.
And obviously Ivory Coast, everyone thinks they're going to get through, so it's really the battle for second, would you say, between the North African sides?
Well, not between the North African sides, because you've got Algeria as well, you've got Togo as well. So it's going to be a battle for second for these three teams.
Okay, well, we mentioned Ivory Coast there, and this was an important game for them because they come into the tournament as the clear favourites with, you know, Yaya Touré, Kolo Touré, Didier Drogba, Gervinho, as you mentioned. It's easily the most star-studded squad in the tournament, and they were taking on Togo, whose build-up to the game was interrupted somewhat by the Adebayor saga. Their best player by a long shot. Will he play? Will he not play? He eventually was persuaded to, seemingly by the Togolese Football Federation, but that can't have helped their build-up, can it?
It definitely didn't help their build-up, but still they performed exceptionally well.
So the game finished 2-1 to Ivory Coast with, as Mike says, Gervinho having to grab a late winner, which was a fantastic volley, to win. But the Togolese really put up a good fight, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, and they actually had a goal disallowed as well.
They did, and we can actually see some Togo fan reaction at the moment. It's clearly they went through a range of emotions. There was definitely a period where they thought they could go on and grab a point or three.
Yeah, with the way they played, the game was there for them to win it.
As Mike says, there was a bit of controversy as a goal was disallowed coming from a corner, and Didier Six, the manager of Togo, was very annoyed about this. You can see him on the touchline, he was very annoyed about that. Let's find out what the man himself, Adebayor, who we've just talked about, of course, former Arsenal, former Man City, Spurs, now playing with his national side, Togo. Let's find out what he thought about the game.
Oh yeah, we are all disappointed, and that's football. We just have to go home now, go to our hotel, find a way to recover very well, and focus very well on the second game. We knew it's going to be tough now to go through, but we are players, so we just have to keep our hopes alive and keep doing our thing. We play against the best team in the group today, then we show character, we show personality. Unlucky for the last minute, but that's football, and the second game is going to be on now. We're going to watch it and see what we're going to do. But at the end of the day, the most important thing now is keep going, keep doing our thing, keep playing our football, and we'll see what happens.
Hey, Mike, we've heard from the enigmatic Adebayor there. He says that Togo can take a lot of positives out of the match. Is it a case of taking positives, or do you just have to move on and try and forget about the last game?
Well, it's a case of taking positives. They play the tournament's favourites, and clearly there isn't that much gap between the two of them.
Okay. What about his own performance? Because he missed a pretty vital chance. Maybe he's been distracted himself because of all the build-up.
He hasn't been playing up to the standard that we expect from him even before for his team at Spurs. So it's not like he's done something different.
Okay, but would you say that if they are to have any chance of progression, they need him to improve?
Definitely. If they've got any chance of progression, they need all 11 players playing exceptionally well.
Okay, thanks, Mike. And what about Ivory Coast? And their main man, of course, the much sought after Didier Drogba. He's now playing his football in China, but we probably know him best from his years, massively successful years at Chelsea and Marseille before that. Let's find out what the Ivory Coast captain thought of his team's narrow win.
Even last year we played against Sudan, as I was saying, and we always respected them, you know. But it's a football game, you know. I don't know. You expect Barcelona to win every game, but sometimes they lose as well.
Some people say
so it's football. So people want us to win all the games. It's not possible. With 10 goals, we can't score 10 goals. You know, we are in 2013. Football has improved a lot. There's no small teams. So 2-1 for us is a great win. Even if it was difficult, it's a great win.
Well, Mike, Drogba touched on something that you said earlier. It was a narrow win, 2-1. They maybe got a bit lucky, but a win is a win in this tournament, isn't it?
Yeah, a win is a win in the tournament, and it's very important for them to actually get the wins in.
And we saw them before the tournament in a friendly against Egypt, and they were playing free-flowing football, scoring for fun. But it's different when you get to the tournament because teams are so desperate not to lose, aren't they? So it's always going to be harder to score more goals.
It is going to be harder to score more goals, and more teams are aware of each other now. It's totally different setup. When they scored 4-0, it was more 4-2. It was more of an experimental thing, and Egypt were also playing around with a few ideas.
So it's tight, and we've seen this in other major tournaments, the World Cup, especially in the first round of games. Everybody's desperate not to lose, aren't they?
Yeah, it's important not to lose, but it's even more important to get those 3 points in.
So despite a perhaps slightly low-key performance from Ivory Coast, are they still your favourite to win?
They're still the favourites. Ivory Coast have been the favourites for a number of tournaments now running, and it's high time they delivered. If they fail to deliver on this one, I don't see them winning another one. It's more like the Ivory Coast golden era, where they have Yaya Toure, they've got Didier, Drogba, they've got Emmanuel, Adebayor, all those players.
Okay, well, as we say, that one finished 2-1. Yaya Toure, who might mention, got Ivory Coast off to a great start before Aite equalised for Togo. Then there was that controversial disallowed goal before Gervinho scored an excellent volley late on. We decided to ask you, the viewers, on our ATV Facebook page, if you had any questions for us after the first round of games. And the first one is about that goal that we talked about, which could have changed the game. It saw Didier Six, the manager of Togo, storm out of a press conference, still very angry about the decision. And it was decided by the referee that a corner was taken without his consent. He wasn't ready for the corner to be taken, and then the goal was headed in by Dare Nibombe. Mike, any view on that?
Well, the ref has clearly said he wasn't ready for it to be taken. That's the end of the story.
Okay, well, before we close the story, Gift Manyapa on Facebook has asked us to explain exactly why it was disallowed, and we thought we'd do a bit of digging, and we had a look on the official FIFA rulebook of football to see if we could see anywhere that the referee needs to blow a whistle for the corner to be taken, and it doesn't actually say it anywhere. There's the procedure of a corner kick. The ball must be placed inside the corner arc, we know that. The flag post must not be removed. The ball must be kicked by a player in the attacking team, and the kicker must not play the ball until it has touched another player. We know that stuff, but it doesn't actually say anywhere in the rule book that the whistle must be blown. So we think that on this occasion it's the referee's, it's his prerogative. He's decided it, hasn't he? And overall he's the boss. So
overall he's the boss, but it's more like when they take a quick free kick, sometimes the ref will still be trying to organize stuff and he's not ready for the kick to be taken. It doesn't mean if the kick is taken and the team scores, that goal stands because they took the free kick. That's the same concept that applies on that situation. He wasn't ready for the kick to be taken.
So I suppose you could say if he wasn't ready, there could have been a foul or something else going on. He needs to be completely aware of what he's doing for it to be fair, right?
Yes, exactly.
But we can understand why the Togo boss was so annoyed, because it looked like a legitimate goal.
Yeah, it's understandable, but if it was the other way around,
yeah,
he would be very happy.
He would. Okay, we've got time for one more question from the Facebook group, and that is from Onwell Aussie Chapwanya. He says that for him, the African Cup of Nations so far has been a bit dull and boring, and that in his mind, African soccer has deteriorated. He wants to ask us how this can be curbed, and he's also suggesting maybe there should be more than 16 teams. He actually says they should add 2 more groups. What do you think of that, Mike?
I think he's a bit biased on adding 2 more groups. He's hoping to sneak Zimbabwe into one of those groups. Yeah.
Well, of course they would have been in if there were 2 more groups, wouldn't they? But there would have also been a lot of much poorer teams, and can't constitute a better tournament.
Yeah, it can't constitute a better tournament. The teams that are there have performed well to get to that stage, and the only reason that it may be boring is because they're playing more tactical football. If you look at the African teams, most of them have got foreign coaches. They've got European-based coaches, and those coaches are more tactically aware. Whereas before, you had local coaches who emphasized more on attacking and playing from the heart and not the brain, which is what they're doing now. I mean, if Zambia can win it, any team can win it.
That was a very tactical win by Zambia, wasn't it?
It was a very tactical win because they played as a team. All players did their jobs, and if you go through all the games, you find that it's more or less the same thing that every team has adopted.
And I think, Emmanuel, another thing for you to consider is, as Max said earlier, this is the first round of games, and if you look back at other big tournaments, the European Championship, the World Cup, the first round is always very tight and edgy because they're desperate not to lose. Even a draw is so much better than a loss to these teams in the first game because it puts you in at least a decent position. So I think maybe we should suggest a bit of patience because things will get more exciting.
I suggest a bit of patience, and as well maybe he's spoiled for choice watching the Premier League, watching the Bundesliga, watching the Spanish League, the World Cup, the European Cup, so even the Champions League. So when you compare all those and you're looking at the African tournament, it seems more or less like boring.
Okay, but we appreciate your question. Well, it's a really interesting question, and we also hope that, because it has been a slow start, we hope that things start to increase and more goals and more drama, but we will be keeping you updated with all the information that goes on. Don't forget, if you're watching this now, get onto our ATV Facebook page where we'll be updating what's going on in Group A games today, and join me and Mike next time where we'll be looking over the rest of the action of this African Cup of Nations 2013. But for now, he's been Mike Mambo.
He's been Liam Thorpe.
Good night.